And second, as a group, dentists just tend to be very nice human beings who frankly don't like dealing with the employment issues, the management issues. So a couple of things tend to happen, I think, in part as a result of that. One of those things is that oftentimes
Hello, this is Monica Rabella. I'm a CPA, and for those of you that are my clients, you know that I specialize in working with dentists. And I'm giving you a heads up here. We're going to have a seminar on June 15th, and it's going to be about updates on employment law and even Employment Law 101. You know, the law is complex. It changes all the time, but there are very specific things for a dental practice that I find many of my clients may not know that they're doing wrong, and we need to get those resolved, not to mention all the new things that we just haven't heard about. So today I'm talking with Anita York, and Anita is an attorney that specializes in labor law. She has worked with my clients as well as me, and she's just fantastic. Some of you may have heard her before because she speaks on a lot of dental issues and a lot of dental seminars. So, Anita, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So we're getting ready for our June 15th seminar, and I thought it'd be important to point out the three biggest legal issues for dental practices, why these dentists want to come to the seminar. So let's kind of chat about those three biggest things that you think would be great and that we're going to cover.
Terrific. I'd love to. As you mentioned, I have worked with some of your clients. I've worked with you. I've also worked with about 100 dentists in the last several years, and I do find some common traits among dentists generally. First, dental school does not teach them how to manage employees or run a dental practice from the standpoint of employment issues. And second, as a group, dentists just tend to be very nice human beings who frankly don't like dealing with the employment issues, the management issues. So a couple of things tend to happen, I think, in part as a result of that. One of those things is that oftentimes we see the employees sort of run the practice and sometimes even run the dentist. And I get calls from dentists who end up being very frustrated because somehow they don't seem to have control of their own practice, a practice that oftentimes they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and maybe several years building. So the first thing that we really talk about is, how to effectively hire and hopefully weed out some of the more negative influences that may be present when you hire somebody, not knowing perhaps some of the background issues that could be difficult. So we talk about hiring, we talk about managing and how to really effectively and efficiently manage your staff so that you're not a terrorizing boss or a boss who people loathe coming to work for, but in fact you're somebody who, while having control of your own practice, is also someone who is really somebody that the employees can talk to, can hear from, can communicate with to really understand what it is that your expectations are of those individuals and whether or not you're happy with their performance and how things are going in your own practice. So I would say the first thing that I see with a lot of dentists is just that they don't really, they're not comfortable. They don't have the confidence to really take control of their own practice and manage it in a way that's positive and yet effective. I would say the second thing, which is the biggest lawsuit we see across the board these days in employment law, is the wage and hour issues and whether employees are really being paid properly. There's a concept in my mind that, if you're an adult and I'm an adult, you and I should be able to agree on how the compensation is going to work. Unfortunately, and probably not surprisingly to most people, that's not how it works in California. California is very strict about precisely how people must be paid, and regardless of whether or not you come to some other agreements, the law prescribes what you must do and what you may not do. So we talk about that because not only are those lawsuits the most common ones that we see, they're also the most expensive ones that we see. And those mistakes that people make that they have no idea that they might be making really can put its practice in a very difficult position.
And that would include this concept of if you pay them bonuses based upon meeting certain revenue rules, revenue dollars, that affects their overtime rate. And that's something that you're going to talk about as well, right?
Absolutely, and you're exactly right. In particular, dental practices oftentimes pay hygienists and even pay dentists either a daily per diem, or they oftentimes pay them based on production. And in California, both of those two manners of paying, when that's your base pay, are actually not permissible. So we're going to talk about why they're not permissible, what is permissible, and it's certainly okay to pay some portion of the compensation based on production and to pay bonuses. But you're exactly right. When you get into overtime, then that becomes a different calculation, a little bit more complicated, and one that is very tricky, not only for dental practices, but for employers in general. The reason that it's particularly tricky for dental practices is because they do tend to pay hygienists and other dentists, particularly, either per diems or based on production. In addition, the third thing I would say that is a vulnerability, particularly for dentists, is along the same lines, which is classifying dentists as independent contractors. It's common for dental practices when hiring associate dentists to classify them as independent contractors. Monica, you mentioned updates in the new laws. One of our new laws as of January 1st has to do with independent contractors and misclassification. It adds a new set of penalties for doing that. We have our California Department of Labor Standards Enforcement, which is what people refer to as the Labor Board, as well as the Federal Labor Board, both coming out recently saying we are getting on board and going to become very active in finding misclassified independent contractors and imposing these penalties. So I would say that's the third thing that is really a particular vulnerability for dental practices that we're going to be talking about.
I think that those are really top hits, Anita. I really encourage all of you listening to this to please attend. It can be a costly experience. I know from the clients that I have that have gone through this, not only is it a disruption in the practice and it makes you very unhappy, guess what? Your production goes down because you're distracted. You're now unhappy. You thought that you were treating everyone as an adult and fairly. And it really does get you down. What you have to do is just know what the right rules are and follow the right rules so that you're not going to be put in that position. So I do encourage all of you listening to this to please attend. It's June 15th. To be able to register for this event, we do have a flyer on my website, mydentalcpa.com, and you'll find a flyer there. And Anita, why don't you give them a little more specifics on the flyer itself and what they need to do to get that taken care of?
Sure. The flyer includes a registration form, so if you'll just go ahead and complete that, print it out and fax it to our office. You can also certainly call if you have any questions or if you'd like to do the registration by phone. Our phone number is area code 949-222-0166. Our fax number is area code 949-222-0113.
Great. And again, the seminar will be taking place at Anita's firm location at their address, which is 1301 Dove Street, as in the bird Dove, Suite 1000, Newport Beach, 92660. The name of the firm, again, is Scott and Whitehead, and Anita York will be our presenter.
We're right near the Orange County Airport, very easy access, parking right at the building, so we'll look forward to seeing everybody.
I look forward to seeing you
all
very soon. Thank you.